Y'all, I just woke up and got shocked when I saw this. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video of mine. This time I'm back with Song of the Crimson Nile Season 2 Episode 7. Y'all, I suck at keeping up with when the updates will come out. At this point, all of you already know. But our man is completely obsessed with us. And he said he don't give a damn. He's gonna do whatever it takes to find us. So we will see if he actually catches our ass or not. Get in touch with Isman's soul turns into a disaster. Nothing new. Episode 7, The Poison of Memories. God damn it. Oh god. Looking at the mummy, Eva closed her eyes and tried to quiet down all of her feelings. She was perfectly calm as she was sure that she and Livius had enough time. Despite Seth's warning, Eva was convinced they had moved quickly and done everything they could. Right at that moment, she needed to let go of all of her worries and fill that void with someone else's innocence. Eva lost herself in her memories. He was cheerful and loved life and the people around him. Don't joke like that. No, I'm not laughing at your jokes. Stop smiling. He was in love, although he tried to hide it. His dark eyes often looked at that beautiful young Shishmu. Right. Isman was dedicated to his job and moved steadily toward his objectives, despite his fears and worries. I don't know if they'll accept me. Do you think I'm clever enough to learn how to heal people? I'm worried. Oh, whatever. While I'm sitting here chatting, someone is trying their best and achieving things. I will do that too. Oh. Even as a child, if Isman knew that someone wanted his help, he would drop everything and run to where he was needed. Badly needed. Are you alright? I heard his screams out in the street. Did he beat you up? Do you want to spend the night at my home? Mom's made such a rich stew. Come on, she'll feed you. And I'll find a bandage for your bruises. Oh, Isman. He really did not deserve to die, y'all. Not me actually being emotional already. Forcing her thoughts back to reality, Eva felt her mask change, so she immediately pressed a plate to her face. A cold drift swirled at her feet. The atmosphere in the room began to change. Oh my god. Eva opened her eyes, ready for the long-awaited meeting with Isman's Ka, but she could barely hold back a startled gasp. What? The art of necromancy. Yo, I feel there is something. What is this? Since when is our vision glitching when we try to get in contact with someone's soul? Her anxiety immediately deepened. Eva knew perfectly well that a summoned soul shouldn't look like that. Isman appeared to her as a drowned man, exactly as he looked on that cursed morning when he was first pulled out of the water. A person's skull was supposed to look different, and that terrified Eva. Something had gone wrong. I mean, we do know that he was with, I don't know what his name's again, like that king of the underworld or something. Maybe he's not really dead. Like, if you ask me, I think he's like in a state between life and death. But yes, technically he's dead, but when you die, normally you like immediately go to the other side, you know? And maybe because of the way he died, or because of the reason he died, he is not being allowed to cross over to heaven or to hell. You know what I mean? Like he's in that state between life and death. Trying not to show her unease, she took a tentative step back and addressed the soul in a whisper. Isman? His dead face lit up with a smile, the same smile he had always given her, warm and affectionate. He held out a trembling hand to her. Am I with you, just like in the past? Isman? Eva's heart was breaking under the onslaught of her emotions, but she had to shield herself from them and protect Isman's feelings, for which she had become a vessel. You had plenty of time to concentrate. The soul has been summoned correctly. Okay. And yet her friend's appearance made Eva worry that something had gone wrong. She remembered that the body had not yet been completely embalmed, and the process wasn't over. Eva was very lucky that she had managed to get in touch with the soul at all, since Ramesses had assured her that it was impossible. Even if something had gone wrong, she still had a small chance to speak with him. She had to find out at least something. Isman, I'm begging you. Tell me what happened. Who killed you? Who did this to you? Isman looked to the side with quiet sadness. He seemed in no hurry to answer. He tried to take a breath, but instead a wheeze erupted from his throat and trickles of water ran out of his mouth. Oh God. Not them actually showing that he's glitching even when he did. As in, a higher power is kind of like trying to prevent him from saying what's going on. And so the second he tries to talk about it, he immediately is swallowing water, because that's technically what happened, as in he was drowned. I lived, I loved. Eva stood perfectly still as if she wasn't there. No, she controlled the process. Things may not be going great, but at least there's some progress. It's just a soul, not a monster from the duat or from my imagination. I have to keep everything under control. Honesty, that's all because of the flowers in her. The flowers? Her? Eva blinked nervously as a thick crimson haze seemed to appear in front of her. Suddenly Eva was no longer in the Ibu with the soul, but she seemed to have become the soul herself, seeing everything through his eyes, through Isman's eyes. Everything was going wrong except... Oh God, what is going on? Oh, I have another theory. Maybe this feels differently because when we try to get in contact with someone else's souls, we weren't personally involved with them. So we were perfectly capable to separate our emotions, and we were capable to follow what the process of what was happening when we got in contact with them. I mean, yes, we were in contact with our man's soul, but the difference there was that we got into this man's mind. We didn't try to summon his car or something. Maybe because right now we're actually involved with Isman and we truly harbor feelings for him, powerful ones at that. Maybe that's why the process is differently. And it could be possible that the soul is also capable to lull us in as much as we try to not allow it. On the table in front of him were several scraps of papyrus ink and some half-rolled, yellowed sheets from the library. Moon turmeric blooms only at night. Daylight has a determinal effect on its petals, so the buds turn crimson. Thanks to the waters of the Blue Nile, the plant has rare healing properties and is highly valued among... But Isman was focused on writing, not reading. His slender fingers were clutching a red pen, writing hieroglyphs on a small piece of papyrus. I'll be there, but I'll be late. Wait for me. There were messages in a different, smaller and neater handwriting on more papyri scattered around him. I'm worried I'll run into the hunters. The east side is so far. You'd better come to me. She won't be there. I'll come early. I'll finish with my mentor 2 hours after sunset and wait for you. Something stirred in Eva's memory. She stared intently at the papyri, trying to catch a thought that kept eluding her. 2 hours after sunset. The east side. Eva clutched her teeth with tension, realizing that she was close to figuring it all out. You've seen something like this before? Yeah, the papyri from our nice friend. Remember? We found them under her bed. Isman had been corresponding with someone while learning everything he could about crimson turmeric, the very flower he had been looking for, on the shore before his death. Suddenly there was another flash before her eyes. Isman was surrounded by the sound of water and the rustling of the grass covering the banks of the Nile. Everything looked perfect still. and peaceful in the moonlight. A man's silhouette flashed in the silver beams. Oh my god. Eva felt scared again. She had already seen that. She had seen the last moments of Isman's life through his eyes. Don't rush. Come here, boy. She recognized that voice. It made her feel scared and confused, although she couldn't remember where she had heard it before. Or were those Isman's feelings? Oh, wow. Great. His hand reached for the water surface and ripples distorted Isman's face. He was looking at his reflection. He just had some important realization that was crushing him. His black eyes went wide with fear. And Eva, who was watching everything from his perspective, suddenly felt as if Isman wasn't looking at himself, but right into her eyes. There it was. That elusive moment before his death. What happened next? Who killed him? Who? Oh, hell no. Another face appeared on the crimson surface, surrounded by sparse white flowers. Everyone saw him the moment life drained from their body. Anubis, the guide to the underworld. Once again, she saw Isman as he was asleep forever. Anubis held him in his arms, carefully, like a child. Eva realized that she was wandering through the maze of her own guesses, memories, and dreams. It wasn't a real connection with the soul, but some kind of semi-conscious state. She communicated with Isman's ka to a certain extent, and she had managed to summon it, but there were still a lot of her feelings and fears too. That's why she ended up in that situation. Eva felt stuck somewhere in between, unable to control herself. A low, quiet voice filled space. You're searching for a path that you will find sooner or later anyway. Giver of life and bringer of death, you're here again. Anubis was talking to her. This didn't happen in my dream. And did he say again? You seem surprised. His voice sounded like it was coming from everywhere. It's really him? This is not a dream or my imagination. He's talking to me. Eva knew that she still had enough time to linger. She kneeled down slowly, as she had done the first time. She had an opportunity to talk to Anubis. You did everything quickly today. With a little effort, you can continue speaking with Anubis. Nice. But to do that, she needed to calm down and keep her anxiety at bay. Eva controlled her feelings. Eva tried to put her worries aside, convincing herself that she was going to think about everything later. Right at that moment, she had to remain calm in order to linger in that rare, fragile state, standing on the border between two worlds. She had managed to grab hold on the last thin thread of those Isman's life had been woven from. If Eva got scared and the thread snapped, there wasn't going to be another chance, and his soul was going to leave that world forever. Is he on his way to your realm? Anubis gently bowed his head. The mortal spoke to him. Yes, he's on the way to the judgment of the dead. Eva's mouth was so dry that her tongue stuck to its roof. The god Anubis was talking to her. And it wasn't the first time. Did you visit my dreams to warn me? You're inexorably linked to the realm of the dead, and your path goes through it. Why do I have these dreams? Sheshmu are not supposed to dream. Nephthys Madden said you are a part of your patron, and therefore a part of my world. Your soul stems from Set's powers, so dark magic doesn't deprive it of its warmth. You are born from its source, and its flows keeps you alive instead of killing you. Is my soul warm because I was promised to Set since birth? And the same thing must have happened to him, Set. Eva cautiously looked around the hall where Anubis was sitting. Everything was shrouded in darkness, nothingness. How can I get in touch with Isman? Why did the gods take him away from me? Anubis tilted his head, and a merciful smile curled on his lips. His death made you suffer, but you should know. Death is not evil, just as life is not kind. His death didn't just make me suffer. A part of me died with him. To get in touch with him, first you must find inner peace. You see, that's like the fucking problem. Especially if we have like this connection to someone. When we allow ourselves to feel and to actually get attached to someone, when something happens to them or when they die, part of us dies too. And that breaks us. And considering the fact that we have that emotional attachment to that person, we will blame ourselves. And everyone is like, yeah, you will not be capable to achieve what you actually are dreaming of when you are not happy with yourself. As in when you haven't found a way to forgive yourself. But it's easier said than done. I can't help but to feel guilty, especially we know that we have like these insane powers. We could have done something if we would have figured something out sooner. We could have done something. And knowing that is what makes it very, very difficult for us to actually move on from this moment and to actually forgive ourselves for what happened to Isman. And that's what's not allowing us to find inner peace. And that's something you can't control. Thanks to your necromancy skills, you talk to Anubis. This is your advantage, and he will remember it. Anubis fell silent. It was painful to see Isman dead and ready to be taken away to Anubis' realm. It was tormented by the thought that she hadn't seen it coming. She had been too concerned with herself and her affairs, and she had allowed that to happen. She should have stopped him from going to Thebes. See? Like, she's blaming herself. And to one extent, I can understand. Because she's like, I have those powers. I had those dreams long before we went here. Why wasn't I capable to connect the dots earlier? But on the other side, she is still human. No matter how hard she's like trying to pretend that she's not. Because she has like this deal with Seth and whatever. She is still human. So it's not like she can actually control the development of her knowledge. She should have kept a low profile. Then the hunters wouldn't have taken her with them. She should have done something to prevent it. She should have taken better care of her friend, the way he had been taking care of her all that time. Eva's heart throbbed, unable to withstand the pressure of guilt and self-loathing. She lowered her head and lost what was left of her self-control. Isman's feelings were no longer inside her. She couldn't keep his Ka in that world. A sense of deep responsibility for everything that had happened overwhelmed her entire consciousness. Bringer of Death, that was her real name, her birth name, and she had lived up to it. You didn't bring him death, girl. When the vision dissipated and Anubis faded away along with the cold of the underworld, Eva suddenly came to her senses. The room filled with an airy red light. There was a shadow in the corner of the Ibu. Oh my god. The mummy was no longer on the table. Excuse me. What's happening? Eva wanted to step back, but the shadow suddenly pounced on her. Oh my god. Oh my god. Is this Isman? Y'all, did we turn him into an actual mummy? Like in those movies where mummies come to life? Like, did we actually turn him into a state between life and death, y'all? Like, because we know he did. This is not how a human being should look like. But you can't really call him dead now, can you? What the fuck is this? And even those red eyes by... Where are you going? You'll stay with me. Oh my god, great. What's this? Me? Find something to vent yourself with. Calm down. I think all of this is happening because she is not capable to keep her emotions in check. And one of the main things that we learned since the beginning of the story is that you need to be capable to control your feelings because you need to connect with theirs and they need to help you go where you need to go. The second you lose control over your own emotions and they get in the way, something goes wrong because you are trying to get into their subconsciousness or something. Like you try to connect with their essence. When you do that, your feelings have no reason of being there. And they could get in the way of your process. Eva understood that everything that was happening right now at that moment was some kind of airy consequence of her attempt to get in touch with Isman's soul. She couldn't quite explain it, but it was clear that none of that was real. Or at least she was going to be able to protect herself somehow. I feel your pain. Your self-loathing. Oh, renown! Let's go! Poison of memories kills, doesn't it? So die for real, lie down with me. In the dark, dead, kissed by the worms. Oh my god. What do you want? You deserve it, you foul creature. Take off your mask, let's look at your beautiful face. Once we peel off your skin, it will become even more beautiful. Oh god. Hell no. Come here. Several vials fell to the floor, scattering. Glass crunched under the creature's rotten bare feet, cutting into his soft skin, and a trail of blood followed him. The creature was walking straight toward her. Eva screamed, tearing off her mask and throwing it into a corner. Confused and petrified by fear, Eva covered her head with her hands, trying to get rid of that horrific vision. That wasn't Isman. No, not Isman. Not Isman, not Isman, not Isman, not Isman, not Isman. Oh god, I feel bad for her. Eva repeated the same words dozens of times, unable to believe what she saw. When she reopened, her eyes filled with tears, the red light suddenly faded and everything disappeared. The body lay back in its place. Everything was quiet and the vials were intact. He said, "What was that? I thought I was going to die." Some noise came from outside, but soon it was quiet again. Eva, who couldn't bear to stay in that room a moment longer, jumped up and rushed out of the unstiff legs. The bright pink sunlight momentarily blinded her. After the gloom and stiffness of the Ebo, where Eva had spent at least half an hour, the fresh air, bright sunlight made her squint. Livius was standing nearby. He turned toward Eva. Yeah. He immediately noticed that something was wrong. Next to him, toying with a dagger, was Agnia. "It's a nice morning, Kitty." Agnia? Eva immediately tensed up. She hadn't agreed to help catch Remao, so there was nothing for Agnia to do there. What's going on? Livius saw the turmoil on her face and gestured for her to stand still. Wait. Eva stepped over the threshold and immediately recoiled. She wanted to throw her cloak and mask into a corner, but instead her back hit something tall! Oh no! It's the fact that he's remaining silent about it, though. "Son, why couldn't you warn me that my man is here?" Her stomach twisted at the realization that flashed through her mind. Ha 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 ha. "How's it going, son?" She turned around slowly. "Well, huh?" Now, from Eamon's point, ladies and gentlemen, surprise bitch, bet you thought you'd seen the last of me. I knew immediately that it was Eamon. Eamon was looking down at her. His hand rested confidently on the hilt of his hunting knife. Well, damn. He said, "Me?" "No more running, Neferid." Before she could say anything, the hunter thundered. "How is it possible? We told Livius to keep on lookout. How is it possible? How is it possible that this man did not come to warn us?" "Quiet." Without another word, he nodded toward the other houses. Damn, y'all. The hunter and the mercenary took Livius and Eva away from the Ebo, hiding in the shadow of one of the buildings. God damn it, y'all. Oh god. As soon as they stopped, Eamon gave the fugitives a steady, cold glance. His gaze made it clear they were in big trouble. "Son, what the fuck do you want? Do you know how big the world is? Find someone else to toy with. I'm done with your bullshit." Livius intervened, shielding Eva from his... Oh, I love Livius. Livius is such a cutie. Protect this man with your life, girl. Livius intervened, shielding Eva from him with his arm, and glowered at Eamon. He even said, "I'm sending death glares at your sorry ass. Period." "Don't touch her. Let's talk first." Eamon, who clearly was already in a terrible mood, pressed his lips together. "I'm in charge here, and I'll decide what I will do. You better not put your neck on the line for her." "Leave her be, my godness!" Like, to be quite honest, Like, I love Eamon with a burning passion. You all already know. But on the other side, I think he's kind of a hypocrite. Because you were born by the blood of a Sheshmu, aka a necromancer, and a wonderomancer. That's what makes you be special. You have powers that none of the other Sheshmus have. And you have the audacity to kill others for being born by the same god that you were born from. Like, your parents were Sheshmus. You are a Sheshmu too. Yet you kill other Sheshmus for what bad Sheshmus did to your parents. I don't think that's fair. Like, you don't have the right to kill Sheshmu without giving them, like, a chance to show that they're good. This is just like with human beings. There are good human beings out there, and there are bad human beings out there because they're more intact with their negative personality traits. And this is like you seeing a human being and immediately saying they're evil and you need to kill them. Like, you need to find out what's real here. Everyone is capable of great good and great evil. Even Sheshmu, you can't just immediately kill someone just because they were born the way they are. The hunter's gaze lingered on Eva, making her feel uneasy. I deserved this. I left him alone while he was asleep and ran away, but Isfet, I had a reason. How can I even begin to explain that to him? At this point, words are not necessary, girl. At this point, they are really not, because this man is not even willing to, like, hear you out.
She didn't do anything. She has her own tongue. She can speak for herself.
Bitch, I could if you would stop intimidating me. You actually think I have the energy left for that?
Do you have anything to say, Neferid?
Y'all, to be quite honest. From one side it's attractive. Like, I love myself, a very arrogant and self-confident man. But on the other side, I would be dying on the spot. But one side that I like about this entire situation, if he really would be insanely fed up with us being a Sheshmu and he actually planned on killing us immediately, he wouldn't actually spend his time listening to us. He didn't give our friend the time to actually say something. He just started to rip her nails off, etc. He wouldn't be giving us the chance. I think this has to do with the fact that he has feelings for us. But I just like to read that he hasn't given up on our nickname. He's still calling us Neferid.
Yes? I'm all ears.
It was over, but only for Eva. Livius still had a chance. Girl, Livius didn't do anything wrong. He only fled because of me. Girl, you know what? I think I need to point this out to you, Eva, little woman. To a specific degree, you are your nice little friend Livius is an accomplice, because they were hunting for Sheshmu, for bad Sheshmu. And right now, they kind of are pinpointing that you are a bad Sheshmu too. So, considering the fact that Livius knew and he even helped you escape from the hunters, that makes him an accomplice. So that means that he will await the same punishment if Eamon should decide that he wants to kill you. Okay? He could have a chance, no, bitch. Because that's what happens with bratty bitches, okay? When people are petty, they will put the other person on the line too, because they're like, yeah, you were the accomplice. He only fled because of me, otherwise he would be hiding from his killer in the hunter settlement. None of this is Livia's fault. At least stand up for your man. I convinced him to run away with me. He just wanted to protect me and help me. Please don't hurt him.
Eva.
Eamon crossed his arms and grimaced. He didn't expect Eva to defend the healer instead of herself.
You're master of persuasion, now are you? He doesn't have a mind of his own. He can only rely on your guidance.
He hasn't been accused of anything yet. He should have stayed in the settlement. It's all my fault.
Eva, stop it. The episode is right. I'm free to decide what to do.
He was willing to leave the settlement with you. It's his own decision. And I said it in the last episode as well, I think. I can't remember. It's been a huge ass while, but I remember. Like, I even said that he would have to deal with consequences too if you both should be caught. Because he has his own mind. He will make his own decisions. And the second he does it, he also has to accept that consequences will follow him too if you two should get caught. I said that. So you can't really say, no, I made him and whatever. No, it was his decision. It was his decision and he accepted it with the risk that will come with it. Because, let's be honest, could he have remained in the settlement? Someone was trying to kill him. So, no, he couldn't. So he was like, it's fine. I'm running from my killer anyways.
The last thing I need is you two fighting in front of me.
And the jealousy continues. Because we're not technically fighting, we are kind of bickering because both of us want to protect each other from Aemon's influence because he could snap his fingers and say we're being sentenced to death. This man is not having it. Eva turned to Livius, grabbed his hand and pleaded, "Come on, tell them you didn't do anything, that you ran away just to help me. Girl, I feel so bad because now, ladies and gentlemen, I did say that she was traumatized by what happened with this man, right? I don't need to add anything more to this. Now, I will add something here. The fact that she got in touch with Isman's Ka immediately brought back all of the resentment, all the pain, all the frustration that she has been harboring ever since this man was killed. So, she kind of had found a way to live with the pain, but the pain was still there. Now actually getting in contact with Isman's Ka, actually talking to him for a bit, talking to Anubis, the king of the underworld, and actually seeing moments of his death as in some sort of clarification, they heightened her guilt and self-loathing. So, right now, she was brought back to the moment when he was killed, as in she's psychologically unstable again, psychologically vulnerable. So, right now she is vulnerable. And the guilt she has been carrying within herself because of what happened back in that nice little tomb with Isman's body is transcending onto here as well, aka projecting. She's projecting that fear that someone else could die because of her onto Livius. So she's like, please say you didn't do anything, because if you should be killed because of me, I don't think I would survive that. Right now she has the feeling that if he says that he just came there because he wanted to help her and that none of this was his own idea, then that he could have the opportunity to remain alive. Girl, it does not work like this. Livius yanked his hands out of her grasp, staring at her and hissed,
"No, you know perfectly well that I had a choice. Why are you trying to make things worse for yourself?"
Because of that, because of the guilt. She feels guilty. And in my eyes, she feels about Livius the same way that she felt about Isman. Family. We had those beautiful moments in the last episode, I think, before we went into the tomb to talk to Isman's Ka. We realized that he's family. So technically, if something should happen to him, because he was there looking out for us just like Isman did back in the day, it would be like losing the same person twice. She can't have that.
And anyway, I supported your idea. We're both responsible.
Livius has my heart. He really does. He's like, will you shut the fuck up already? I decided this myself. I know what I was doing. Livius is amazed at your courage. You cover for each other like real friends. What do you mean real friends? This is family. He brother. Aemon raised his hand, interrupting them. He's like, you again bickering in front of me.
That's enough. You're fighting in front of me like Gavin.
The jealousy. The jealous sauce. Twins Geb and Nut are the god of the earth and the goddess of the sky in ancient Egypt. Oh! Agnia turned around to listen, checking their surroundings.
Keep it down. Your screams will ruin all our plans.
He's not here.
You thought he was with us? What are they talking about?
I didn't even have time to think about everything. I signed the EBO and got in trouble again. I can't deal with it right now. It's impossible to escape.
Yeah. Remao. They want his ass.
Our mentor, he was wandering around somewhere around here.
Waiting for the right moment to kill you both on the spot. Well done for running away. You made it easier for him. Well, at least you covered your tracks, otherwise your escape would have been like spontaneously flinging yourselves against the dagger.
You're welcome.
If you hadn't, I'm sure you'd be dead by now.
Her mentor is too stupid to find them without a tray.
Agnia. She is iconic.
After the sandstorm, it is especially difficult to navigate the outskirts.
Renown! So sorry.
The only thing that gave Eva hope was that Amon seemed to be waiting for something and hadn't taken them back to the settlement right away. Eva didn't see any other hunters around, and the Episates himself seemed in no hurry to do anything. That, like the feelings he has for her, like normally, I hate when people say that in shows, but right here it's actually accurate. His feelings for us is clouding his judgment. Like when he would be actually immediately slaughtering kinds like us. He can't do it with us. Like he's either waiting to like have courage to do what he always thought was right, like with his hunter's mind. And on the other side, he's like trying to find a way to like still keep us alive. Like, I don't know, maybe he will use Remao as an excuse. He still wants you dead, so we will use you as bait. So right now you still remain alive. As in to cover up the fact that he doesn't have in mind killing us because he can't. It was quickly becoming obvious that he was planning something else. Eva didn't even have time to ask. Amon gestured for everyone to be silent and listen. His voice was calm and low, steady.
Evitus, you should be executed for running away and not to mention practice in dark magic.
Eva stared at him without blinking. It was impossible to tell how serious Amon was. Right at that moment, there were almost no secrets left between them. He seemed to ignore her glances, only occasionally deigning to look at her. In my eyes, deigning is a very strong word, and in my eyes, he's playing it off. He can't look at us because he feels that he will do or say something that he could regret, because we know that he's impulsive, just like Eva is. So, if he should look at her, he would either do one of those things. He would either kiss her, because he was worried about her and he couldn't do anything but to immediately announce that he was willing to do whatever it took to get us back and to like have us back in his life. Or he could say something to her that would hurt us deeply and him in the end as well. So technically this is like a fucked up situation for both of them. Because if he should actually have us executed, he would lose part of himself too because he's in love with us. Is that it? Will he never look at me the same way again? Girl, right now I think it's more like his hunter's mind taking over his entire thoughts. Because I did talk about this in the past, that he like has two minds. Like one is like with vulnerability and everything, and that's like the one connected to Eva. And the other one is like his hunter's mind, where all the darkness of his past like shaped him to be this like ruthless killer, and he killed Sheshmu without having a second thought because of what happened to his parents. So right now I think he's fighting more himself. So the longer he looks at her, the more he will realize how difficult it is to actually stand in between two worlds. As in wanting to do what you think is right, killing her, and on the other side, going with what your heart truly feels right with. As in, keeping her alive, because once she didn't do anything but to get in contact with Isman's kind on the other side, because you love her. Eamon had caught her immediately as soon as Eva had decided to run. Less than a day had passed. In truth, she was overjoyed. It was better than anything Eva had dared to hope for, but the realization that things wouldn't go back to how they were before was tearing her apart. It was scary to hear Eamon speaking about executing her. The hunter's raised dagger and his bloodthirsty grin as Dia hung by her hands immediately flashed in her memory.
And you, Olivia's of Baela, can't forget about continuing your duty as punishment for helping her. You won't have any future, especially not in the Pharaoh's service. I know you have powerful friends among yours.
Wow.
But I also know that the Pharaoh himself doesn't like you. I don't think anyone will be able to help you if he finds out what you've done.
Livia smiled briefly and warily. Path of cunning, and Eva understood why. Eamon is threatening us for a reason. If he truly wanted to kill or punish us, he would have done it already. This man is not someone that talks about it. He immediately also shows it with action. Because in my eyes, I feel like he actually is making himself be hurt by showing that he's willing to go through with killing and everything. So considering the fact he's not doing it, he's waiting for something. He's trying to intimidate us on purpose, trying to get at something, or to blackmail us. In any case, this is nothing but a provocation.
And you're not telling me anything I don't already know. You want something in return for your mercy, so you're threatening us.
Wow.
Your situation is so dire that I don't need to find excuses to threaten you. But you're clever, you're still alive for a reason.
Eva recalled she was in no hurry to join that conversation. Agnia watched them indifferently, leaning her shoulder against the wall, her arms crossed. She was hardly interested in what was happening at that moment. To be quite honest, she is a queen. She is a fucking queen. She's like, oh, you know what, you continue your kindergarten, I'll just sit here and, just look at the stars or whatever. Her eyes had been burning with excitement when she had been chasing Remao the day before, or when she had discussed hunting him with Eva, but right at that moment her gaze wandered aimlessly around the houses. It was clear that all that back and forth was boring her to no end, unlike fighting or moments when she needed to use her strength. The apostates had taken her with him for a reason, not to chat, but soon the mercenary's gaze fell on Eva, questioning and slightly mocking. Without taking her eyes off her, Agnia turned to Eamon.
Let's hurry this up. What's the point of threatening them? They don't have a choice anyway.
Oh, I do have a choice. If you don't kill me, I will.
Good, I've heard enough already.
Agnia suddenly smiled at Eva and then turned away from the conversation again. Yes, they had a conversation about you. Huh?
How can we be useful to you? Tell me, and I'll give you whatever you want if it helps to calm your anger and improve our situation. Sit down.
Eva sat down silently. Livia stood there for a moment longer, grimaced, and then also sat down on a stone sledge. He wasn't used to obeying anyone just like that, but there was more at stake than his ego. Livius was too smart to provoke the apostates and risk his life. They had no choice. Looking at them thoughtfully and even slightly indifferently, Eamon crossed his arms. Agnia continued to twirl her cobus in her hands.
I know that you're a dark magician, Eva, just like your friends. The first one was taken dead from the square not so long ago, and buried somewhere. The second ran away from his brother.
Yeah. There wasn't even a shadow of pity in his voice. Wow.
You have two choices. You can follow them, choosing the worst fate, be publicly executed and get buried in a ditch.
Eva had the feeling that he was almost enjoying the fact that he could resort to his usual threats, almost as if the fear he was causing her was retribution for the way she hurt him. Yes. Yes. Exactly that. Because of her, his two worlds are colliding. Because he can't kill her because he loves her, but on the other side, his duty, or more like his sense of duty, is kind of forcing him to kill her. Because that's what he has been doing the entire time. So he's caught between two worlds right now.
And then there's the other option. Follow my orders obediently and help me get what I want.
And what do you want? Yeah.
I'm looking for your mentor, Remao. I have big plans for him.
Is he that important? I know that he isn't even part of the Elder Circle. He almost got in, but became a mentor instead as a punishment.
Oh, is there anything else you'd like to share? Any thoughts, maybe some advice?
Hilarious. Path of high renown, period. When Eamon looked at Eva. Oh, when Eamon looked away. When Eamon looked away, Eva felt relieved, as if the pressure from him had eased a little.
You're a clever woman, Nefret. You understand everything. Remo's role goes way beyond teaching 3 weak brats. And don't try to convince me otherwise.
I'm not.
Your task is to help me, not to know why I'm doing this or offer any advice.
She could no longer expect him to be lenient. To some extent, it hurt her. I know why he's doing this. He wants to use Ramau to find Hempstead, but how can I tell him that I got into his dream and now I know everything? If he finds out, there won't be any choice. I'll lose my head right away. To be quite honest, at this point, I wouldn't give a damn. You want something from me. You want Hempstead. And you don't want me to know the reason why you want it, but on the other side, I know that you are killing Sheshmu, even though you are one too. So now you are trying to hurt me, even though you are the ones that you're executing. Let me tell everyone that you are Sheshmu too. Let's see what they do. After listening to them, Livius raised his amber eyes to Eamon.
I understand why you need her, but what role do I play in all of this?
Agnia grinned and the blade froze in her hands.
Their choice is also quite simple.
Oh, what happened?
Or you stay here and help.
Alapao.
Remender hardly ever spoke to me. What use am I to you?
Agnia intervened.
Someone is hunting you.
Is it Remo?
Agnia shook her head.
No, his style is different. It's someone else, but he is connected to Remao. There are 2 of them, and we need both. Eva is the target of her mentor, a dark magician. You're the target of the other man, his associate.
Ramesses? I don't think so. Hempstead? What would Ramesses actually have in mind, like wanting to hurt Livius? It all fits. They've been working together for a long time. The younger one learned from the older one. If Hempstead is responsible for the death of Isman, who was also connected to Livius, it could explain the attack. And it's obvious why Eamon is looking for him. He wants revenge for his partners, and also Hempstead is serving someone worse than the god of war and chaos. Eamon most likely wants to find him, Hempstead's master. Remao said that the best Sheshmu live right under the pharaoh's nose. There is a whole secret circle, according to my mentor. Is that the epistate's end goal? Honesty! The cunning! The chain turned out to be complicated. Even Livius, Remao, Hempstead, the one giving orders through the healer, the young Sheshmu, and her former mentor, Eamon wanted to get to the elder dark magician, to Samon, who was also the one who murdered epistates almost because he spoke against the law banning dark magic, and from him to his master. That were just the first small steps to one of the main Sheshmu. What if he was someone very close to the pharaoh himself? Eamon said that the pharaoh doesn't like Livius. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but isn't it strange that Maybe I'm overthinking this, but isn't it strange that first he was sent to the very epicenter of the disease, and then without waiting for the disease to kill him, they decided to do it themselves? If so, what could Livius possibly have done to displease our ruler? Zed is also looking for his servant for a reason. Whoever managed to steal him away is very powerful. I hope my patron doesn't decide to take me away in front of the epistates in Agnia. Livius, who had been following a similar train of thought, remembered said, Eva's unusual friend, who clearly knew and could do more than ordinary people. He looked at Eva questioningly. A silent dialogue and her pursed lips quickly made it clear to him that he'd better keep quiet. Eamon doesn't remember said, unlike Livius. It's better not to inform him about yet another player in this game, and we'll get thoroughly confused. To break the silence, Livius asked another question.
What should we do now?
Nothing. Stay close to the Ibu for another day. We'll wait until Remar or both of them come for you, and we'll intercept them.
See? Bait!
It seems that your plan is a little flawed.
Me! Like I'm waiting to be hunted. Thank you. Where's the bait? Is there a third option? To be quite honest, that would be my answer. Eva swallowed nervously, noting in her mind how unappealing that choice was. On one side, execution. On the other, a deadly risk. I'm not sure what's better. Perhaps there's something else. Eamon said brusquely.
No, either certain death or probable death.
Choose. Wow, thank you. Cunning.
Remao will get to desperate lengths to achieve his goal. Attacking you right in the settlement was also foolish and reckless. But for something or someone forced him. It will happen again. Maybe his life depends on it.
Was Eamon really willing to put her in such danger? On the other hand, what did Eva expect after everything that had happened between them? Sometimes her conflicting feelings for him made her forget who he was, and that he had threatened her many times before. What kind of love can there be between us? Refusing wasn't an option. Eva looked up at Eamon, her eyes full of fear, pain, and resignation. Of course she was going to submit to his will. She was going to follow his rules, because she was afraid of being executed, and the last thing she wanted to do was running away from Eamon again. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Where's all that bitch-ass attitude now, you little bitch? Look at this man. Can't even look us in the eyes again, huh? Some unusual emotions flashed across his face, but disappeared as soon as Eva took a closer look. Yes, he's reminiscing too, because he don't like it. He doesn't like to know that we're in harm's way. I'm imagining things again. I'm looking for something that isn't there anymore, or was never there in the first place. Now, lies, girl. Right now, I think it's more like hostility towards us. The love he has for us is still there, and the fact that he's so mad at us is because the love he has for us is strong. Or maybe it was, but we lost it. Was my pathetic attempt at escaping worth his trust? Livius and Eva knew there was no options left. They couldn't stay safe or escape as they had planned. Once again, they were in it together. Forcing himself to smile encouragingly, Livius turned to Eva.
Once again, the Moria have intertwined the threads of our fates so tightly that my troubled friend and I have ended up in a pile of shit.
Sand.
Yes, that's
right. The Moria are the goddesses of destiny in ancient Greek mythology. I love them so much, yo. But any hardship is easier to survive if you share it with a friend. Eamon rubbed his chin, looking at the moon, at the monotone landscape.
On second thought, your mentor might start to doubt himself and refuse to come out of his hiding place. If you decide to stay near the Ebu for another day, he might realize that this is a trap.
Maybe he won't. Very little time has passed since Isman's death and the start of the embalming process. Necromancy is impossible in that state, or very difficult. It's hard to get in touch with the soul, and he knows that I would have trouble with that. That would be a reason I stayed here longer. The art of necromancy! Eamon listened to her, watching as the lousy scribe he knew suddenly turned into a necromancer who had been hiding all that time.
Well, if that's the case, it works.
What happened next was something that Eva would never have believed if she weren't in that situation herself. Which is, they all worked together. Period.
It sounded like the beginning of one of those silly jokes that people told each other while downing a cup of Hecate. A hunter, a sheshmu, a mercenary, and a pharaoh's healer walk into a tavern. All four of them returned toward the Ibu. The plan had several steps to be followed. First, put up a canopy to wait out the heat and at the same time stay in plain sight. Then arrange Livia's vials to look busy. Eamon and Agnia would hide in different corners to keep an eye out, taking turns. All Eva had to do was walk outside or near the Ibu from time to time so that they could be easily spotted. Damn, this is actually so sad. Like we're actually being someone's bait. Like imagine if they come in too late to help us. We did. None of them were sure their plan would succeed, but if they did nothing, Remao could easily hide in Thebes for a very long time. He was very good at hiding. By playing on his need to kill Eva, they could lure him out. This is so ridiculous. Why the fuck would he need to kill us? They still discovered him. The fact that he actually was willing to let Dia die and then kill us and his brother,
he wanted to prevent from people finding out who he is. But one thing that he didn't actually take in consideration, they already knew who he was. And on the other side, by attacking us, he already exposed himself. Why the fuck would he still want to kill us? Is this now an obsession of Remaus? That he needs to kill us because we are kind of like the reason that he wanted to kill us, and that's why he got spotted in the first place or whatever. Aemon had never been so close to finding not just an elder dark magician, but someone who belonged to a secret cycle right under the pharaoh. Even if the other men who tried to attack Livius didn't appear, they could still reach him through the Mao. That seemed to be the main reason for Aemon's entire service. Therefore, he was going to grasp at any possible chance to succeed. To Eva's surprise, her dog was nowhere to be seen. He had disappeared when she had entered the Ibu. Orion was missing or had gone somewhere. Maybe he was hunting? But that worried Eva a little, because he had never left her side until that moment. Maybe Aemon and Agnia said something to that. I can't. Not this huge ass... Y'all, bye. Livius and Aemon built a modest canopy quickly and silently. Bye. Them also like working like next to each other, but not looking at each other, nor talking to each other. Under the episode's piercing and displeased gaze, Eva took her things there, including the plate and the cloak. What you want? You already know I'm a dark magician. Now back the fuck up. I can't. Like, this is getting on my nerves. He already knows. This is like something that I see as too petty, you know? Like being hurt that we betrayed him and made him fall in love with us without him actually knowing who the real us is. I could understand that a little bit, okay? Because this is like you falling in love with someone without knowing who they truly are. And now you have the feeling you fell in love with someone's facade. Like we were pretending the entire time who we were. So if you would be hurt because of that, I would understand. But now, him being upset that we're a Sheshmu and him seeing like the cloak and our mask, and he's pissed at that when he himself is one, I fucking can't. Because this is like him being a hypocrite. And I hate hypocrites. You have no fucking right to judge me on my behavior when you resort to the same methods in order to get what you want. If you're no better, shut up. Agnia, who hadn't slept all night, took a short break to rest and went inside. Aemon kept watch, hiding from the sun under his cape. The tension between him and Eva was particularly high. She was avoiding any conversation with him and felt ashamed when he looked at her. Why do you feel ashamed? He should feel ashamed, considering the fact he's doing what he's doing. He is killing Sheshmu, saying they're a curse or whatever, and he is a Sheshmu himself. At the same time, she felt sad when the episodes eventually left. If only she could have spent another moment with him without being overwhelmed by guilt. Livius took the horse and went to the mouth of the river, which was very close. Everyone in the group parted, going in different directions. Closer to Upper Egypt, the Nile spread into several branches, dividing the local lands in thin channels. Almost all the streams flowed back into the river. There was one large estuary near Thebes, where the locals washed and took water from. It ran through the whole city and flowed into a small lake on the outskirts. Livius took that chance to study the local herbs there, while Eva stayed with Agnia. Once they were alone, Agnia put on lighter clothes and lay down comfortably.
You should change too, and clean yourself up.
Do I smell bad?
Very much so. Did the hunter scare you so much that it make you sweat?
Yes. She's in the mood for jokes. It's like I'm the only one who's worried about everything that's going on. I mean, you are also the one that's being used as bait, girl, so of course your situations would be completely different. And besides that, she's a mercenary. She can kill you without thinking twice. She just chose not to hurt us. Because maybe she cares about us. Maybe she knows that we're a good person and she only truly hunts people that are doing some shady shit. And that's why she don't mind to treat us as she did before, knowing who we are and what we're capable of. But right now, we can't protect ourselves we can only like use our powers, aka considering the fact I used to go with the necromancy round, I can only connect with the dead. And that's about it. Like, it's not like I'm a magician and I can like throw you against the wall or use like telekinesis. I can't protect myself. Like, I can defend myself. Agnia, on the other hand, can. But they don't know what I know. That Hemzed was not just any elder dark magician, but a talented wonderomancer and a servant of Sed, the god who had been searching for him for a long time. And that his name was Samon, and he also killed Epistates Amos in order to get the ban on dark magic made into law. And that he was closer than everyone thought, and had an affair with a young woman in Hermopolis a few years earlier. I'll go wash in the river later. If I don't get killed along the way, of course. There is a chance, right?
Death can catch us at any moment if that makes you feel better.
In this particular circumstance, no, but I mean, is she wrong? Like, I could step outside my house, y'all, and I could get run over by a car. It could happen. You never know. And this is something like that my father told me. When your time is up, it's up. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try to remain alive, if your time is up, it's up. You will die no matter how hard you want to continue living or not.
That's why we should not worry about it and get the most out of life.
We only have one. Eva didn't say anything. So far, life had only given her slaps in the face. Me. For God's sake, me. Like, I don't think I said it here. Or maybe I just cut it out. But I was deadly sick. I had cancer, y'all. I was close to death, actually. I was in the hospital for like 2 years. Not really hospitalized, but for a time being, I was in and out of the hospital for 2 years. So I didn't know if I was ever gonna get out of that hospital, and I didn't know if I would survive or not, because the doctors would screw up everything that they touched when it came to my situation, and I was scared that I was laying my hands into people that literally were about to, like, let me die. You know? Like, I didn't have faith nor trust in those doctors because of the way they behaved and treated my case. So I was scared. I didn't know if I was gonna survive or not. But, well, we look at that. Because of my persistence, I'm still here. I suppose that's a reason. I suppose that has a reason. I was meant to continue to live. Since she had some free time, she decided to think things through. Everything that had happened in the Ibu during her contact with Isman's soul raised questions. He told her that it was all because of the flower and her. It was the moon thermic he had been looking for, and her must have been Dia. But what did the flowers have to do with it all? Did he die just because he was collecting them at the wrong time and in the wrong place, or was there another reason? Could it be possible? I mean, the flowers were introduced to have like special healing properties, but could it be possible that they actually were the reason of his death? That it can't be touched by someone that hasn't been chosen or whatever? Like, this is a fantasy story. It could also be a thing. And what did Dia have to do with it? The day before she died, she said she was responsible for Isman's death. Did she? Did I forget that? That she had given the hunter's round schedule to someone else. Probably Samon, whom she had mentioned earlier. Her former lover, Anisheshmu. Oh, it's coming back, y'all. Back then, Dia was sure that Isman had been killed by the hunters. But in fact, Eva had seen with her own eyes that it was a man with some plan of his own. In her vision, Isman was answering messages. I'll be there, but I'll be late. Wait for me. He wrote that himself, but there were other papyri. Judging by the handwriting and his secret relationship with Dia, they were love letters. Eva remembered the message from the vision well. I'm worried I'll run into the hunters. The east side is too far. You'd better come to me. She won't be there. She? Was she talking about me? I'll come early. I'll finish with my mentor 2 hours after sunset and wait for you. Eva suddenly remembered that night when she had been rummaging through her dead friend's belongings and also found scraps of notes. I've already found something like that, very similar in content. 3 hours after sunset, or spot. I'll be there. I'll be late. Wait for me. The northern side of the river, the tall tree on the bank. The eastern side of the temple. Avoid the hunters, they patrol the corridors. They all fit as being a message and its response related in content. Only one of them stood out from the rest. The odd one out was 3 hours after sunset. I'll come. The northern side of the river? The tall tree on the bank. That message didn't fit the rest of the correspondence. Eva hadn't seen Dia's answer on Isman's desk and hadn't seen him writing that note either. If he hadn't written it, that meant it was someone else Dia had agreed to meet with. Like she said, she had given the schedule to someone else. It was the message about the northern side and the riverbank. So they met in Thebes by a tall tree. Isman was killed there. Was it an accident or intentional murder? If it was intentional, then the man knew that Isman would be there at that time. He was looking for flowers. Not many people would have known about that, including Dia. Who could have Dia met at night while in Thebes? Who did she mention in the heat of the moment several times? Samon Hemsid, the runaway servant of the god of war and chaos, and Elda. Invisible god, he was so close. Or maybe he's still around here somewhere? Each conclusion was worse than the previous one. She needed to talk about it, was said, but he was nowhere to be seen. As if he knew that Eva was in trouble. Her conversation with Anubis, which had happened either in reality or in a state of semi-delirium, didn't make things any clearer. He had said that Eva, born from the source of dark magic due to her connection with Set, had a warm soul, and Hemsen was the same. That distinguished them, those given to the god, from the rest of the dark magicians, and it didn't allow people like Aemon to recognize them. But what did his words about finding peace mean? How could she find it, and how would it help her get to Isman? She really don't know that depth of psychological pain yet. But I did already say everything there was to say. Like, you can only find peace when you can forgive yourself and accept that there was nothing that you could have done in order to save someone that you truly cared about. Because she's blaming herself for his death. She has been the entire time. Because she's like, I have supernatural powers. I could have helped him somehow if I would have known. Like, that's what you keep on telling yourself. Because when you truly love someone, this is what comes out of it. You're like, I can help him. Like, at least he wouldn't have died there thinking that he's all alone, you know? And you blame yourself for that. And I feel bad for her. Eva almost jumped at the sound of Agnia's voice.
You've got a funny look on your face. Now it's clear how much the episode torments you. You look miserable.
I'm just tired of everything.
I know exactly how you feel.
Come to think of it, none of us had an easy life. I'm used to thinking only about myself, but they're also trying to pursue their own well-being. Aemon's parents, dark magicians, were killed in front of him, and he escaped by some miracle. Livius doesn't tell me much about himself, but I can sense he's hiding some unpleasant truth. Most people don't become mercenaries by choice either. A suitable company for me. Eva had noticed how reckless Agnia was sometimes and wondered if it had anything to do with her occupation and inscriptions on her thigh. They had nothing to anyway. So she decided to ask Agnia, was it written on you by force? She was talking about the phrase in the Attic dialect.
Are you talking about Xenos, Janne? Are you curious?
If you don't mind talking about it.
A stranger to the family. I was exiled. Didn't I mention that?
Not in detail. But I want to know more about you as a friend, yes? Agnia raised her eyebrows, propping herself up on her elbows.
As a friend, and you don't care that I'm putting your life at risk?
That, though, I do. But we're all doing what we can and what we should.
That's not what you said earlier.
I now realize that there is no choice. Agnia grinned, sitting up straighter. I mean, to a specific degree, no one wants to be someone's lapdog. No one wants to be used as bait. But sooner or later, you have to see what is right. And being followed by a bitch that is not willing to rest until they killed me. The only way for me to be finally free is for him to actually be handed over by people that will not let him out of his sight. AKA Aemon. Like, he wants him that desperately, and this man will never stop until he actually managed to kill us. We can't allow that. We need to be careful. So, it's completely fine, in my eyes, if we need to be the bait. Because sooner or later, you're just tired of having to fear everything and everyone. You're just like, you know what? I'm willing to take a stance. I'm willing to stay here, wait for this man to come so that we can beat him the fuck up and then it will be over, finally. The chance to talk to someone in general was not something that happened often to her. An interesting interlocutor was even a rare find, so she didn't keep quiet.
This was written on me by force when I was very young.
Damn.
I was chased away by my family and sold to a house of Hateras.
What's that? Is that what you call priestesses of love?
Not exactly. We see things differently in Antica. Hateras sleep with their patrons, but usually it's just one person. However, they still need to be entertained, indulged, endured.
Wow.
Others will say you're an independent woman, but in fact you're dependent, and very much so. You depend on money and on the man who pays while he's having fun with you.
Wow. She was sold to someone, aka she was a slut. She was forced to become a slut at a young age. Damn.
And throws you away when he gets bored.
Who sold you? And why did they chase you away?
My father, when I refused to get married. I come from a wealthy family, so making alliances through marriages is quite common, but I have the wrong character for such a deal.
Same. Amen, sis.
I'm too brazen. The man I was promised to quickly realized that, as well as the fact that our marriage wouldn't last long. That's why he refused to marry me, and my father became furious.
Great, Ra. Let his every cup of beer taste like sour milk, me.
He died a long time ago. My friends, to whom I later ran away, took care of it.
Amen to her friend. Did they kill him in revenge?
One shouldn't cross me, let alone sell me to anyone.
Agnia is a fucking queen. Again.
You don't look like a kitty with an easy past either. Will you tell me sometime since we're friends now?
To be quite honest, that's hilarious. I love Agnia. She's hilarious. You've learned more about Agnia's past. This has brought you closer. Aw, even not evasively. Yes, I had a cursed childhood, not very different from yours. Agnia calmly took out a small painted jug from her bag. She's like, we need alcohol. Periods! Oh god, I love her. She's a menace. She's a queen.
Let it all go into the realm of Etis. Let's have a drink.
The mercenary handed Eva a drink. What's the difference? Am I stupid? Ah, okay, I was about to say, like, what's the difference? Okay, drink. No, you know what? Drink. I don't think she would poison us, to be quite honest. First off, I actually think that she truly appreciates us. Because if you wouldn't give a damn about someone's opinion and about their feelings, you wouldn't give a damn if they're fine with being used as bait or not. And she actually asked that. And on the other side, if we're poisoned, we can't really pretend to be the bait, can we? Eve accepted the jug and tilted it, taking a few swings. Her throat burned, and she tasted the drink's familiar tart flavor. She squeezed her eyes shut, returning the Hecate to Agnia. So strong. It must be an expensive one.
You bet. It's generous of me to share it with you, but I wanted to. You look really sad.
Look at this, queen. Your generosity has helped me a lot. Thank you. Can I have another sip?
Of course, but go on easy on it. The episodes will hang me by the ears if he sees that I got you drunk.
I'll let the episodes be a sulking bitch. Oh, me though. I fucking love her. She hasn't changed a bit either. Oh, curse him. He keeps me here to be slaughtered, but I can't even get drunk.
That's right, you can. Go for it.
I'm sorry, I can't. I love her. To be quite honest, I mean, no one can replace Dia, and in my eyes, she was also a queen. And she did everything that she thought was right, and she protected us even knowing that she wouldn't make it out. So, no one will be able to replace her, but in my eyes, the synchronicity that our character shares with Agnia is pretty similar to the friendship we had with Dia. Very bickering, but also very lovable. They took another sip each. A good drink makes this conversation even more pleasant. I can't. When Livius returned from the shore, Eva asked him to help her with the horse and went to the Nile herself. Following Agnia's advice, she washed up. Agnia had promised to prepare a change of clothes for her and suggested Eva got rid of her sweat-soaked outfit as soon as possible. That outfit is gorgeous. What you mean? The sun was almost at its highest point when Eva arrived at the shore to swim. She undressed, but not completely. She was afraid that if someone attacked her, she would have to run naked. Girl. She went into the river up to her waist, feeling the warm and clean water refreshed her, washing away all the sweat and dirt. Eva washed her entire body, then rinsed her hair and face. Suddenly, she saw a tall figure nearby in the water. What? Me! How? What a coincidence. How long has he been there? Eamon stood in the gleaming river, brushing wet strands of hair from his face. Was he also taking a shower? I can't. That's hilarious. And you're gonna tell me we didn't see him there? Eamon seemed to have noticed her right away. Standing waist deep in the water, he had watched Eva splash herself and turn her pleased face toward the sun. I can't. This man is so infatuated with us. He threatens us, but he's actually dying on the inside because of how much he loves us on the inside. That's hilarious. He was staring at us like a creep in the back. Eva immediately covered herself up. The water made any fabric transparent.
You could have come here at any time, yet you've chosen to do so right now.
What you want? I didn't do it on purpose.
I know. I can see you're afraid to even look at me. You would have hardly dared to come here if you knew.
Well, son, what do you expect? You expect me not to be scared of you, you little no-good son of a bitch? You plan to have me murdered? I'm not afraid. Girl. Any word is too much right now.
You don't trust me. I remember your message.
Sonny. No, y'all, I can't with Eamon this episode. Normally, I'm simping over this man without any problems, but right now, I mean, I understand from one side, it's more like he's hurt because of our message, but from the other side, did he expect something different? He found out that Dia was a Sheshmu and he had her hung. You expect me to believe that you wouldn't have done the same with me? Like, I know where your priorities lie most of the time, which is actually hunting and hurting and executing Sheshmus. And when you came here, you even said you either help me or you'll be executed. You expect me not to be scared of you or to trust you? Now you know who I am. There was no point in forcing you to choose between me and your duty. That I would have lost. Eamon pursed his lips.
Thanks for writing. It cleared things up, at least a little.
Eamon's trust is not yet lost. It's thanks to your message, even though it was a bit sloppy. Wow. Okay. His trust in us is not broken yet. He wants us dead. Okay. Eamon looked calm, if not detached. Suddenly, he turned to Eva with his whole body and headed in her direction.
Get out of the water. Let's talk.
Talk?
Haven't been looking for you just to let it end this way. You said you wanted to be mine, and I don't let go of what's mine so easily.
Yes! The shipping moment comes back. The fangirling moment. He was looking for me? Wasn't it just because of Remao? Nah, girl, you didn't notice. You didn't know. He remembers everything he said. Does he consider me his? Yes, you said you wanted to be his, and he said he's looking for you because you are his. He's like, what's mine is not gonna run away from me, like I claimed ownership, you're mine. Where you think you're going? Eva slowly came out of the water, walking toward one of the rocks. The shadow it cast on the ground provided Eamon with a safe spot to stand without being harmed by the sun. She headed there unconsciously, without even thinking. She cared about him. There was no other way to call that feeling. Eamon approached her. Yet again, they stood facing each other, waiting with bated breath for what would happen next. Eamon knew who Eva really was, and that made things easier. He didn't touch her, but watched her attentively. You're all looking for me to get to Remao, right? No.
Yes, but I didn't want to do that either. Agnia convinced me.
I see.
I don't want you to be involved in all of this. It would have been better for you to stay away. It's too dangerous.
Are we hearing this? Are we hearing this? This is a completely different man than when he was with Agnia outside. I feel like the desire to hunt Remao at this point is more like coming from Agnia, because she knows what this man has been doing the entire time and what a good son of a bitch he is. Maybe actually seeing us in that circumstance where Remao was willing to actually have us killed reminded her to when she would be at the mercy of the person she got sold to. So she couldn't stand there and not do anything. And that's why this is kind of like personal to her right now. Even though he wasn't gonna sexually harass us or something. But maybe, in her opinion, it's more like she didn't want your hands on her. She doesn't deserve to die. And you have no right to actually harm her. So this is like personal for her. But Aemon here, after he insulted us, he actually comes with this, y'all. What did I say? Like, it's like his duty and his love fighting against each other. And I love that they're finally also saying it in the story, because I've been saying it since the first few episodes of this story. I said it. He has the problem, or it would become a problem because it would be him fighting his love for us, or more like him choosing between his love for us or his duty, because he feels like he needs to kill all Sheshmu, because in his eyes, all Sheshmu are bad. So I said this was gonna be like the main problem, and it turns out that I was right. Like, they even acknowledge it here in the story. And Eva said it to him as well. I wasn't gonna let you choose between me and your duty. I would have lost. Because what you show the most is that you're willing to kill whoever comes your way that is a Sheshmu. And I'm a Sheshmu too. How would I know that your sense of duty wouldn't force you to have me executed as well, no matter if you have feelings for me or not?
But I would have found you anyway, because I'm not ready to let you go. These are troubled times. As long as you're not by my side, anything could happen to you.
I would assume you don't really give a damn. But I ran away. I lied to you. Don't you hate me?
I knew you were involved with dark magic even before I fell in love with you.
Aww. Like, what did I say? He can't do it. He won't be capable to do it. Because if he actually had in mind to ever consider having us executed, even if we help or not to catch Remao, he wouldn't be confessing. That's him saying, I chose you over my duty. I love this kind of plot twist.
I knew what I was doing and had no control over it.
Eva knew what would cause Aemon to really hate her. Her connection and attraction to the god of chaos said, oh shit, right, because I played. His rival was Horus, whose manifestation was the pharaoh. And Aemon worked for the pharaoh. They were on two opposite sides, and the woman he fell in love with belonged to the patron of all dark magicians. Fate had been cruel. You're in a very difficult situation, to put it lightly, ma'am, to put it lightly. Eva took a tentative step toward him. So you're not angry? Not furious?
I'm angry and furious. You went away from me. Put yourself in danger.
No, so he's not angry. He's not mad. He is worried. And actually being furious that you would put yourself in harm's way, and being frustrated that you would leave his side even though he showed you his vulnerable side would be what makes him angry. But he's not actually angry. He was worried. That's why you were cruel to me today.
I was cruel because it was necessary. And yes, anger had me in its grip for a while. But the more I looked at you, the faster my heart warmed. I tried to be kinder, but it didn't help. You still gave up everything, knowing what was happening between us.
There's a lot going on between us, and it's complicated.
Love is really simple.
I mean, that. Love? He's in love with you! Everything twisted inside her chest at his words. He loved her. He loved her.
We'll talk about all of this later when we have time. Now I realize how much I missed you.
I missed you too. The happiness at hearing him say those words overshadowed all other thoughts in Eva's head. Are we getting a sex scene?
My rebel is Neferid.
Eamon reached out to her.
Now that everything is out in the open, tell me, Neferid, do you trust me?
Ooh, I trust you. Sure as hell. Eva watched with bated breath as Eamon's gaze changed and softened. He slowly brushed a dark lock of hair from Eva's shoulder, caressing it. Her fragile bones seemed tiny under his massive hand. He raised his finger, slightly touching her lips with his thumb. Eamon's light eyes darkened a little. Then he took a deep breath, looking down at Eva, and he said softly,
You're mine, and I'm yours. From now on, if you don't want to, tell me straight away. I will not tolerate betrayal.
I want to be yours. I missed you so much. I felt so ashamed for running away, but I had no other choice.
There's always a choice, and you're making yours now. It doesn't matter what happened before. I made mistakes too, and the cost was higher than what you're paying.
Because right now, he actually noticed that he's choosing love over his priorities. Eva nodded and leaned closer to him. His breath brushed her ear, sending goosebumps down her spine. The warmth of his words and the hardness of his handsome body stirred an unusual reaction in her, a mutual attraction that was impossible to resist. Eamon felt it too. It was a good thing he had postponed their conversation for later. Right at that moment, it was impossible to remain rational and sensible. They had really missed one another. Let's just hope that Agnia and Livius are like far, far away, and they couldn't think of anything but how much they cared about each other.
Be obedient. I'm going to do something you like. You'll remember this every time you decide to do something foolish.
I'm very much not obedient, sonny boy, but that's exactly what you like. Please, dominate me. Leaning over, he hooked his thumb under Eva's clothes and carefully began taking them off. Her hands raised, automatically to stop her body from being exposed. Eamon returned his attentive, slightly clouded gaze to her face. He shook his head warningly.
I didn't give you permission.
All Eva managed to say was a timid, I'm ashamed.
Of being naked.
She gave a little nod, then added, I've never been naked in front of anyone before. Eamon froze, still holding the fabric. He stared at her, gradually realizing what she had just said. Yeah, she's a virgin. Unable to believe it, he asked her hoarsely,
Eva, has no one ever touched you before?
Nope.
You've never been with anyone before me and never known a man's touch. At all.
His face? No, never. Eva looked away in shame, feeling her whole face turn red. At her age, most women already had children, and she had never even shared her bed with a man. Well, y'all, at my age, a lot of people already have a man, a child, and live away from their parents. I'm still living with my parents. It happens. Eamon may have thought that she was experienced and good at matters of love, but in fact, Eva avoided being touched as much as possible. She was wary and wild as a cat, and Eamon was the first person who had managed to tame her. He was in no hurry to reply, and the agonizing anticipation of his reaction tormented Eva so much that she decided to look him in the eyes. Yeah, a lot of men refuse to be your first. There are a lot of men that feel like they shouldn't be your first time, you know? Like you deserve better or something, like your first time should be with someone special to you, whatever. Like this insecurity. And then they immediately break off the make-out session because they can feel that it would turn into something more. She saw something she certainly hadn't expected to see. There was so much tenderness in his gaze. Eamon left her close alone and pulled her closer. He leaned toward her, pressing his forehead against hers and whispered,
How come? People always looking at you, admiring you, as you wouldn't let anyone near you.
Eva shook her head, feeling a little bolder, and took Eamon's hand in hers. No, you'll be the first, Epistates.
Amen.
Amen.
The first and the only one.
He said I'm gonna be the only one to touch you. What you mean? I love his possessiveness, y'all. I love a man that's possessive, y'all. That's what I want. That's what I expect. If I'm yours, then I expect you also to acknowledge it. If I'm yours, then that also means that you're mine. So I will claim ownership. It's not that difficult. Everything inside her leaped at his words. Surprised, Eva wanted to look up at him, but Eamon cupped her face and kissed her passionately. She had been dreaming of that kiss. She had imagined it so many times and tormented herself with those fantasies. Without hesitation, he pressed his lips to hers, whispering right into them.
My beautiful, gentle Neferid.
I refuse to say I'm gentle, but fine.
You have no idea what power you have over me.
I do now.
You own my heart as if it belongs to you.
Oh.
Say one word and I'll build a palace. I'll tear apart anyone you point a finger at. I'll do whatever you ask of me. Anything.
Wow. Okay. So he's that much of a romantic. Okay, amen. No, this is like the kind of man that I truly like. Not gonna lie. Be possessive, but also show me that I'm like special to you, you know? Like this sort of romanticism, please. His tongue thrust into her mouth, and Eve accepted it, the pleasure making her unable to think clearly. His words lit up her heart, burned her from the inside out, bursting out in disjointed words and phrases. Then don't leave me. That's the only thing I'm asking and begging you for. I want to be yours, only yours. Path of cunning! Eva had a lot more to say, but her emotions made her words stuck in her throat. She couldn't stop kissing Eamon as if there was no tomorrow. She didn't even notice him taking off her clothes, kissing her deeply and greedily. Eamon touched her hot, naked body. His rough fingers slid over her soft curves, caressing her full hips, rising to her slender waist, and tracing her slightly protruding ribs. When he touched her small, firm breasts, Eva suddenly gasped and broke off the kiss. Oh my god, that's so cute! Wait, Eamon, please. She didn't pull away from him, but turned away, hiding her heated cheeks. Something was holding her back, paralyzing her movements. Eamon didn't force her against him, letting her increase the distance between them. He slowed down and opened his eyes. Eva wasn't sure what she was afraid of. Her mind knew that she wanted to keep going. Her body clung to the hunter of its own accord, and there was a strange tugging sensation between her legs. Oh, she's wet, that's what she's saying. She wanted to feel his caress there, his touch, but somewhere inside she was uncomfortable and a little scared. Something kept her from moving on. Eamon asked quietly,
Are you afraid?
He caressed her cheek, wanting to look into Eva's eyes, but she wouldn't let him, closing herself off from him.
Neferid, look at me.
Eamon noticed how tightly Eva's legs were pressed together. It even seemed to him that her knees were trembling slightly. He gently nudged her chin to make her turn to him, and she finally gave in. Oh, she's sad. She looked at him with shame, almost helplessly, and he thought bitterly that a woman's desire wasn't supposed to look like that. All his attention was captured by the gleam of tears in his beloved's eyes. Once, she was abused. In my eyes, that also left some sort of trauma. I mean, I thought about it, but I didn't actually felt the need to add it. But since they're already tackling it, I will say something about this too. Like, she was gonna be abused, I think twice already because of her bitch-ass mother. And she even ended up selling her daughter. So, she could have taken a trauma because of that moment. Like, someone wanted to do something to her that she didn't want to, and she kept on getting closer and closer to her. She felt shame, she felt disgust, but she couldn't remove herself from the circumstances, and Seth was the one that saved her. You know? Once someone wanted to do this with me, against my will. Now everything inside me resists other people's touch. I can't do anything about it. Yeah, she's traumatized. Oh, look at his face. He mad now.
What?
He pushed me onto my back. He wanted me to lie down. He was mean. He tried to touch me wherever he wanted, and he took off his clothes. But he didn't have time to do anything.
When?
I was a child.
The question, y'all. That's a question, alright?
Is he still alive?
He wants to have him killed, y'all.
No, he died a long time ago. Eamon gently caressed Eva's head, wrapping her in his warm, tight embrace. He rocked her gently, resting his chin on top of her head.
So that's what this is all about.
Will I never know pleasure? Eva looked up at Eamon, not wanting to pull away from him and let go of the passion that had been growing stronger up to that moment.
Now, considering of what she just said, you will. It's just a little more difficult to get close to you, as in when you have been traumatized about, like, sexual harassment. It doesn't mean that you won't be capable to feel intimacy anymore. You will just feel reluctant because every single time that someone gets too close to you where it could actually lead to intimacy, you shy away or you back off because there is this like fear still there. And when that shows, that means that you haven't healed from that moment, from your past. Now, it will be difficult for you to actually allow someone to sleep with you, as in to give yourself to a man or to a woman or whatever, as in to allow intimacy in a relationship. But it's not impossible. The way for you to actually be capable to give into intimacy is when you truly, truly care about someone. And you know that no matter what will happen, as in if you would say, no, I don't want to, that they don't force you, no nothing, as in them being respectful, like that they would always have like your best interest at heart. And when you know that subconsciously, it doesn't mean that you can actually say it out loud, or maybe you have like this fear or something, but that's more like superficial fear. The second that that person gets close to you, of course you will back away, like especially if you're a virgin, but the second they get insanely close to you and you would feel the need to like back off, the second you hear them reassuring that everything will be fine, you will give in without you actually realizing it. You will automatically allow that person in.
Eva looked up at Eamon, not wanting to pull away from him and let go of the passion that had been growing stronger up to that moment. If she could follow her heart, she would have continued without hesitation.
Do you want to know pleasure, or are you afraid of me?
I'm not. Eamon, I'm not afraid of you. On the contrary, I want to be closer. I want to keep going, but something deep inside me won't let me.
All right.
Have I disappointed you?
Hush, Neferet, don't say such things.
Let's not stop. I'll do something for you. What do you want?
I only want one thing right now. Stay still. I promise I won't hurt you.
Eamon kissed her again, softly and slowly that time. Eva opened her mouth immediately, letting his tongue in, kissing him back as best as she could. He ran his lips over her skin and nibbled on her ear without his teeth. Eva shuddered with pleasure, but she still kept her legs together. She asked quietly, "What do you want?"
I want to give you pleasure. I'll stop as soon as you tell me to. You don't need to lie down, just stand here. Lean your back against a rock. Just like this, my gentle Neferet.
Eamon embraced her, covering her neck and shoulders with kisses. Eva tilted her head back, allowing him to caress her. He didn't try to spread her legs or lay her on the ground. It really seemed that all he wanted was to bring her pleasure. He squeezed her butt with his strong fingers, pressing closer to her. She could clearly feel his hardness. And that's actually respectful. Like, from one side, of course, like she said, she's not ready, but not being ready to actually have sex with you and actually being fine with the makeout sessions are two different things. If she's not fine with it and she would push him away and he would still keep going, then it would be something different. But she's allowing him to, and he's being respectful. He's not forcing himself onto her. He's like, I just want to give you pleasure. You don't want to be intimate? That's alright by me. Like, I don't really need to have sex with you. And it's recommendable that he's capable to keep his desire in check, because he wants to keep going. But he's respectful to her and to her wishes. Eva knew what such a reaction meant, and she was even a little scared at how impressive his size felt, but Eamon didn't do anything about it, giving his full attention to her and her body. Eva didn't realize where that was going. Oh, look at this. He trailed kisses from her collarbones to her chest, making her shudder and drawing a nervous sigh from her lips, and then moved from her chest to her stomach. Amon kneeled down in front of her, so big and strong, but still affectionate and attentive. He put his hands on her thighs and looked up at Eva, his eyes full of desire. She clapped her hands over her mouth. I'm completely naked. Amon, don't look at me like this. You want to kiss me there? Eva couldn't even say that out loud. She didn't know what Amon was planning to do next, but her guess made her feel ashamed and excited at the same time.
I want to kiss you everywhere.
Amon caressed her leg, slightly squeezing the inside of her thigh. His fingers slid easily over her skin there because of how wet Eva was. She was very aroused, despite how shy she felt. Her muscles relaxed a little, and she stopped squeezing her knees together so tightly.
Lean on me. You'll be more comfortable that way.
Amon helped her a little by throwing her leg over his shoulder, and Eva didn't resist. Without thinking about what she was doing, Eva just leaned her back against the rock surface, watching Amon intently. So many mixed emotions swirled around inside her that she was going to be able to sort through them even if she tried. She saw Amon catching her every reaction, every moment, even the tiniest one. She felt herself blushing, covering her mouth with her hand to stifle her gasp of anticipation. Her nipples hardened, and without realizing it, she tilted her hips, moving them closer to Amon. Sensual, sweet, she wanted his touch and what he had in mind, but she was ashamed to admit it, even to herself. Amon gently ran his fingers between her legs, and his hand immediately became wet. She wanted him so much and was waiting for him to touch her there. Eva let out a soft and strangled sound like a moan. Amon reached out, intercepting Eva's arm and pulling it away from her face.
There's no need to hold back. I want to hear your voice.
He kissed her fingers, looking into Eva's eyes, and then pressed his lips to her stomach, and then lower. Are you sure? Her whisper turned into a moan as Amon spread her legs a little wider, opening his mouth slightly and pressing his lips to her. Eva felt everything. She felt him moving his lips, spreading her soft folds, and running his hard tongue over them, making her arch her back. It felt so unexpectedly good that Eva couldn't hold back her moans, even if she was trying very hard. She was trying to be quiet, still embarrassed about her nudity and position, but each flick of Amon's tongue drove all thoughts out of her mind one by one. Feeling him caressing her thighs, with his fingers moving them closer and then sliding them into her wetness, Eva couldn't stay silent. Her shallow breathing, bitten lip, and downcast eyes clouded by burning desire were the most beautiful things Amon had ever seen in his life. Loosened up and open to delicious beloved, his woman. He wanted to make her feel as good as possible. He wanted her to close her eyes and tremble in pleasure. With him, she was going to put all bad experiences behind her. With him, things were going to be different. Amon leaned forward, burying his face deeper between her legs. His nose pressed to Eva's most sensitive spot, and he spread her folds wider with his tongue, slipping it inside her. Eva cried out, arcing even more, and it felt so good that her fingers squeezed Amon's hair involuntarily. Amon began moving his tongue inside her, insistent and skillful, his lips helping from the outside. Eva was lost in a frenzy of new sensations. Without even realizing it, she spread her legs wider to increase the pleasure and threw her head back. Eva moaned, almost begging, her chest heaving with every ragged breath and her long dark hair all over her face. She was so natural in her desire, completely surrendering to that newly discovered motions and thrusting her beloved man completely. Flushed, sensual, and incredibly beautiful, Eva began helping Amon, rocking her hips against his mouth. She increased her pace. She wanted to feel him even deeper. Amon gently slid 2 fingers inside her, pushing apart her tightness, and then began licking her all over again, so that Eva could get used to the feeling of fullness through pleasure.
Do you like it, my Nephrid?
No longer caring about anything, she moaned and clung to him. Amon reached out to caress and squeeze her breast, and Eva's hand rested on his arm. The incoherent fragments of words and phrases coming from her bitten, swollen lips particularly pleased Amon. The more Eva moved, the more he realized that she was getting close. So he moved his tongue with more pressure, sliding along her wet folds again, and at that moment He felt Eva clench around his fingers. She moaned loudly, trembling, and her legs buckled. Eamon put his arm around her waist, allowing her to relax and completely dissolve in the overwhelming euphoria leaning against his shoulders. Delicious languor enveloped Eva so much that she felt weak and didn't even notice how Eamon gently laid her down next to him. It was as if she had lost all her strength and her body had become soft, supple, and heavy. What was that?
Don't talk. Rest.
It felt so good. Can you really do that every day? I can't. She actually said, can you please me like this every day?
You definitely can.
Emma didn't disturb Eva, letting her snuggle against him and enjoy her blissful state. That day he had found out about what someone had tried to do to her when she was young, and that had an impact on him. He is not happy. He wanted to protect Eva even more, so that she could always relax like that and sleep cuddled against him. Danger was everywhere, and Eamon realized that the further they went, the worse it was going to get. He used to be driven by different objectives, from his thirst for revenge to his personal ambitions, but right at that moment he had another reason to act and move forward. His main reason, Eva. Your feelings for each other are very strong. Yes. They laid there together for a while longer, and then Eamon helped Eva to get up and get dressed, and they returned to their makeshift shelter. He waited until nobody was there. Agnia was at her guard post, and Livius was busy with local herbs in his vials. Eva wasn't sleeping, but she was in such a state that she didn't even want to talk. She had been under a lot of stress those past few days. They didn't even discuss what happened between them. Eva was silent but looked very satisfied, and all she could do was snuggle against Eamon's affectionately, a silly smile on her face. He left her sleeping under the canopy and took up his guard post. As Eva got comfortable, she noticed her clothes waiting for her. Finally clean and fresh, she could rest and change.
It's fine, let's be real. As dawn broke, Eva dozed off, and Livius returned to the canopy. He saw his friend sleeping and didn't wake her up. He sat down next to her to take a break from work and leaned back. Livius was moving somewhere nearby, and sleep gradually left her. She didn't really feel like sleeping anymore. Eva felt safe with him, yes, we do? Livius was the kindest person she knew. Although her first impression of him had been different, she could have happily continued sleeping even though he was around. That meant that she trusted Livius in a special way. I did say, Livius, the same as Isman. She has the same kind of trust to him on a more intimate level, and that was something she felt with very few people. That, when she opened her eyes, she saw that Livius was putting his vials in a bag. Running away already?
I'm getting ready. You never know when you'll have to pack your things. I can imagine the epistate's face if you and I decide to run away again while they're keeping watch.
Let's admit it, it would be kind of funny. I mean...
Yes, the last funny thing to happen in our lives.
Damn. He cut it short very quickly, or a humorful way of trying to cheer up the situation.
Then a woman with a copies or an angry epistate would catch up to us.
We would die next to each other with smiles on our lips. Dead. I love it. Your friendship is growing stronger. You're like a pair of sandals. It's so cute. Livius laughed and winced.
Sounds fun, but such a handsome man as me shouldn't die so early.
Me. Same, son. I agree. If that's the only reason, then of course.
What's that?
Huh? Even Livius suddenly fell silent. A bright warm light shone on them through the semi-transparent fabric of the canopy. Like the glow of fire. Eva rushed outside. A scream caught in her throat. Unable to utter a sound, she stood frozen in terror and confusion. What
the Ibo, the building in which Isman's body lay, the last thread connecting her to the soul of her chosen brother. Everything was on fire. Hello? If someone tells me that Remao was that fucking petty and he actually burned the house down because technically that was like the reason we could have all been exposed and everything before he decided that we are a loose end and he needs to kill us, then I'm gonna be very upset. But we will see what next episode will be like. I hope you enjoyed this video with me. Tell me in the comments below what you think was best, and I will see you in another video. Bye.